Hello, Dmitry. How are you?
Hi, Steve. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
Excellent. I'm doing well, and I see you have a beautiful background because you happen to live in a stunning, gorgeous location in Thailand, right?
Yeah, right. So we are like almost 3.5 years here, and I, you know, I can't used to see this view every day. Yeah, you
Well,
need to.
I
Yeah,
I will
amazing.
I will speak for everyone else on the planet in that you have a good setup, and I envy your location. So, congratulations on pulling that off. That was quite an excellent choice. So.
Yeah, thanks. But I can tell you that our uh, actually Directions Asia put me here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it
That's
was like
fantastic.
in the 2020 when we just flight here for the Directions Asia and they were canceled because of COVID.
Oh,
We were just stuck here and decided, well, why not to live here?
oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I'm sorry to hear that on one hand, but on the other hand, I think it turned out pretty well overall,
Yeah,
right? So,
sure.
congratulations. Well, thank you for joining me. This is kind of a last minute thing that we put together, and we were just chatting on Twitter about something, and we said, oh, let's just do a live stream and talk about this. So, what are we talking about here? Let's see if I can hit the buttons right. And I did an audio. Okay, I think our audio is coming through. Okay, and I hear birds chirping, so I think
Yeah,
everyone can hear you.
not me. The birds.
Okay, sorry, I've had audio issues multiple times, so I just want to triple
Yeah.
check. Well, anyway, as this slide shows, we are talking about, I just posed the question Business Central and AI, where will large language models take us next? And I am going to start with a bit of a blast from the past. I don't know if you remember Directions North America 2019.
Yep.
This was in Las Vegas, and that is where we met. And I apologize. Let me pull up the chat app. I've got 12 windows open simultaneously. So let me see if makes me log in. Sorry, folks, one moment. This is the peril of live streaming. So let me just get in the chat in case we do have a couple people in here. Restream. Makes me log in every time. Okay. Okay. So uh, you may remember, I believe this is the place where we met in person for the first time.
Yep.
And this photo is the MVP, Ask the MVPs session, something like that. And
Yep.
so we had a great session. This was 2019. I was like just brand new to Business Central. I knew nothing, and so they were gracious enough to let me in the room. And there you are with Sean Dorward chatting. And I attended two of your sessions, one of which was called Demystifying AI in Business Central. And you had a great presentation talking about how AI and machine learning works and how that can potentially be used in Business Central. You showed a few demonstrations. And at that time, these were some of the fundamental concepts of AI at the time, right? You have
Right.
artificial intelligence as this vague term, which really doesn't mean anything specific. It's just a popular term. But really, within that, there is a type of AI called machine learning that was at the time the popular implementation of AI that you could actually do something with. And within ML, there was deep learning. And that was one type of a machine learning algorithm that could be used to ingest data, analyze it, and produce some type of output that you wanted to use in business. Well, since then, did large language models really even exist at that time? I don't recall ever hearing about it.
Yeah, so if you will open my Business Central um, presentation on BC Tech Days, uh, which was like a month ago, right?
Ah,
Maybe
okay.
three weeks ago.
Yep.
I actually modified this slide a little bit. Uh,
Okay.
so it so what I added two cycles here, and all these cycles are inside of deep learning cycles. So
Okay.
in general, the picture stays the same, but the generative AI things that is like very popular now, it's actually a next level of inside of deep learning. So it's actually one of the algorithms inside of deep learning, um, which is called general advertisement networks, and that's just the way how the models were trained. So actually, they were trained on text. Uh, that's it. Well, that's it.
Right. It's that simple, right?
In quotes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and since 2019, I mean, I didn't hear much in terms of breakthroughs from what I was casually following, but then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, from the layman's perspective, comes Chat GPT and a few others, and all of a sudden, it's like we had this dramatic shift in usability, in applicability. In it was an entirely different paradigm from the old machine learning models that I played with, like on Azure ML, where you feed it a bunch of data and it tells you if something is a chair or not, right? And so I pulled up this definition of large language model. It happened to be just a website that I happened to grab first, techtarget.com. A large language model is a type of artificial intelligence algorithm that uses deep learning techniques and massively large data sets to understand, summarize, generate, and predict new content. And they explain the term generative AI is also closely connected with LLMs, which are in fact a type of generative AI that has been specifically architected to help generate text-based content, which is interesting. So the LLM, I associate it with text-based content, ChatGPT, right? And we're going to show an example of it shortly. But so this really kind of changed the landscape, at least for me, as to, oh, okay, this is an entirely new field of practical, usable, applicable AI technology.
Yeah, right. So, but like ChatGPT itself have a model which is called GPT 3.5,
Mm-hmm.
which means that before that there was GPT-1, GPT-2, and GPT-3, right? And they were not very popular because they were not so good. But I think that GPT-1 was first introduced even 2019 or 20. Uh, Let me think. I can be wrong, but I remember that GPT-3 was introduced in, I think, 21. So before that, there were GPT-1 and 2. What I read also from the Twitter and from the folks from the OpenAI team,
Right.
they were well. That was actually started with these generative advertisement networks algorithms introduced. So the first was a scientific paper, which
Ah,
tells, okay, this is the method how we can take text and output the text, and then ask the model in a text, and it will answer in a text. So that's the approach they introduced, way before 19. Then there were experiments with these algorithms, and I actually heard the statistics that if so they took the huge amount of data from the internet, like Wikipedia and so on. I can't tell you are the figures correct or not. I heard the figures of 17 trillion tokens.
Wow.
So it's so one token is two-thirds of a word. So it's okay, approximately
So
we can say
a massive data set.
Yeah, so it's 17 trillion words, maybe.
Okay.
Let's say that.
Yep.
And I also heard the fun thing from the OpenAI folks on Twitter, that when they were trained these models, and actually took months to train and huge amount of processing time, when they took 80 or 85% of this data, the output was very bad.
Huh.
But suddenly increasing that to 3-5%, the quality of the output was raising.
Wow.
So it's not you take this amount of data and you get this quality of the output. It's something like this.
Right. Just that marginal difference at the very end significantly affected the quality.
Yes.
Wow.
So at the very end.
And so even if we had the algorithm 5 or 10 years ago, we may not have had the massive data sets, and we might not have had the computational power to get to the quality that we have today.
Yes, correct.
Fascinating. Okay.
That's where it's wow, because it's like a scientific thing, you just experiment, and then you get something, and you can get something, you can fail. It's just try once again. But now we have what we have, and I think the GPT-3 itself was good enough, because the first version of Copilot in VS Code, it's actually is GPT-3.
Okay.
So, and we got the first versions of Copilot, I think, in 20. I think it's 1 year and a half, or maybe
it
even
was
2
relatively
years.
recently. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a 2021 or 2022.
Right.
And at those time, for more popular languages like Python or TypeScript, it was really good. Not good for AL,
Right.
because of this data set is relatively small. But yeah, but now Copilot works on GPT-4, so it's much better now.
Fantastic. Well, I wanted to, obviously you have a focus on this, and a recent project that you did is called CentralQ. And this is like an AI knowledge base and full search for Business Central. And so for anyone watching, you can go to the URL www.centralq.ai, or just type centralq.ai in your browser, and you should end up on this web page. And this is we'll show a demonstration of it. It is a really impressive collection. And I watched you iterate, right? You
Yeah.
started with one model and you got a bunch of feedback in real time as everyone from the Twitter hive mind started banging against it. You added more data sets, more URLs, more content. You increased that data set size. You changed the indexing, the parameters, whatever you did behind the scenes. And I watched it improve. And I just tested it again today. The results are pretty good because I'm searching for a topic that I know well. I know what documentation is available. And I think your results on CentralQ are better than anything I would find on a single page in the past. So I'll demonstrate that. So what was it like building this? What tools did you use? How long did it take?
So I will tell you from the beginning. So when I first saw the ChatGPT thing, it was like in December 2022, right? Like last year.
Yep.
Of course, I got the same feeling as everybody else, like, wow,
Yep.
this really works. But then, like the second step, I thought, okay, so that's where I can get all information about Business Central and my daily work. I just started asking questions about like Business Central and AL, and I found that it's hallucinating much. So hallucination is a thing that actually, if it doesn't know, it will produce some text. It produces the answer anyway. So it will just create an answer, and it doesn't mean that the answer will be correct. So, and as I'm expert, in Business Central, from the first view, I thought, oh, that's not how it should work.
Right.
And actually, well, I got this. I understood that, okay, when I ask something for the ChatGPT, it means that the answer is not always correct, and I need to check the answer. Okay, that was my first takeout from that. And then in January, after the New Year holidays, the hype of ChatGPT was rising, and what I saw next was open source project which was called Chat with a PDF. So there was like a service where you can upload the PDF file and then ask it questions for the PDF. And that was, let's say, a second time I got this wow effect, because we didn't see something similar before. It like gave the experience of ChatGPT, but it worked on the data that is not in the ChatGPT, right?
Right. Your content.
Yes, it was like a content that I provide, and I can talk to this content. That was like a second time I got this wow feeling.
Very
and that's
cool.
where I got the idea that, okay, so that could work for the Business Central. Like we have a huge amount of knowledge that is like spread everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like it's like a documentation, it's blogs, it's YouTube channels, it's books, it's Twitter, it's Discord, it's it's huge amount of knowledge. So what I thought, well, maybe I can do something that will work like this chat with a PDF thing, but on a huge amount of data. So actually, the next step I did, I went to your website and grabbed all the links from there. And actually, I created this like CSV file with all the links. And well, for me, that was like a first, directory
your first data
of
set.
the first data set of where I can grab the knowledge. but like I was, this all kind of field was new for everyone, and
Yep.
there was like no, no information how to do that. So I subscribe. What I did, I subscribed to a huge amount of Twitter accounts that were like talking about this, and like I think in about 2 weeks, I was just following all of them, just going read close, and so on.
Yep.
And and after 2 weeks, I got the feeling where to go. So
Nice.
I I discovered the whole new world of ChatGPT prompts, of ChatGPT APIs, and
Okay.
the vector database. So these like three bullet things, that's all were required. I the thing is that the next problem was that I knew nothing about web development. I knew like a Python a bit. Uh,
Okay.
at least like I use it before for machine learning stuff. But Python is like it's a language, right? A
Yep.
syntax,
Yep.
and there are endless of possibilities that you can do that. And I
Yep.
was like here
Yep.
in one field. So but in my, in my vision, in my head, I already saw the picture how it should look like. So it should
Very
be like
nice.
a Google for Business Central
Yep.
knowledge, and it should work like a ChatGPT. I decided from the beginning that it will not be a chat, because like a chat is a bit more complicated thing. But to like a QA thing, it should be from the beginning like question answer and then feedback. So that's like a cycle. So what I did, I went to the ChatGPT, and I described what I want to do. Um, the problem with the ChatGPT that the knowledge base of ChatGPT itself is limited to September 21.
Right.
So the ChatGPT itself doesn't know anything about how to do AI things.
Ironic.
Yeah, but it knew how to do the web apps.
Right. So
So
you were
yeah,
able to use ChatGPT to help you develop a website that used
right.
Python that invoked a ChatGPT like API against your data.
Yes, correct.
That is very
So
recursive and meta at the same time.
yes, correct.
That's
So
fantastic.
actually, so ChatGPT helped me to create the front end, uh, because HTML, it was something like far away from my
Yep. Nope.
experience.
I can relate. I need to do a website right now. I have the same problem.
Yeah, yeah, but you know, but also ChatGPT doesn't help you like okay, I want to do that, and then it produced the full output. That didn't work like that. So it's like
Right.
also some iterative process. I want the website that will work with the Python backend. Okay, that's your choices.
Okay.
Okay, I see the choices. Okay, I will go this way. Then, okay, I want the name. So actually, the CentralQ was also generated by the ChatGPT.
How funny. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it because I'm
Yeah,
terrible at naming.
yeah,
Product naming is hard. I hate it. So that's
yeah, right. So
brilliant.
it was also an iterating process, but I think that's a good name.
It's a genius name. I
Yeah,
love it. That is
yeah,
so
and
funny.
And then I want a title, I want a search box, all the things, UI things, styling, that ChatGPT helped me to create. It was not very quick, I can tell you that,
Yep.
but iterating
Yeah.
somehow will guide you into the somewhere
So
and the final
is
result.
is this so a couple questions. How
Mm-hmm.
did you get it to ingest all of the Business Central content? Is that a feature of the API or the engine you're using that you point it to these URLs?
No, I actually wrote everything by myself in a Python.
Okay.
So, but in general, it works like I provide a link to the whole web page. It then search for the file which is called uh, something like web index
Okay.
dot xml or website map dot xml. So practically every site have some this file with all links that exist in a website.
Okay.
Uh, so actually, that's how Google index the websites as well. Um,
Got it.
so I search for this file. I get all the links to individual articles, and then I take the link. And in the Python, I use a special libraries to crawl the context
Yep.
from the web page. And then there was that was not very hard, but
Okay.
then was a complicated thing. So that's where we dive into the vector databases and embeddings.
Ah,
So we actually behind the scenes we can't just give the. So the thing is that the ChatGPT itself have a limited context window. Yeah, the window is for the ChatGPT 3.5 was 4,000 tokens.
okay.
That which means that okay, let's approximately 4,000 words,
That's not
and
a
that's
lot.
for the. It's not a lot, and that's for the. It's not for. It's only not only for the question, and not only for the answer. It's together. So
Okay.
it's a prompt plus question plus answer. So uh, it it doesn't work like you take all the knowledge of the Business Central, put into the API, and then it
Ah,
produce you the answer. It doesn't
okay.
work like that. It works like you have a question, and you need to find the relative context that potentially will answer your question. Okay,
Huh.
and then you take this context, put it into the prompt window, and ask the ChatGPT. Okay, so this is the question, and this is the context that potentially can answer on this question. Produce the answer. Okay,
Wow.
uh, and that was the most complicated thing, because if you think about how you will search for the information,
Hmm.
if you do it manually, like as we all used to do it before, you go to Google, you ask some kind of question, and there are many links. So you
Yep.
go to first link, read. Go to second link, read. Right, and then in your head, somehow you generate the answer based on this context that you read before.
Okay.
So the CentralQ actually automate this process. So uh, we have indexed. So it read everything
Wow.
that I put. Then when you ask a question, it first search for the relevant piece of knowledge
Wow.
among among like documentation, blogs, tweets, and take piece from there, piece from there, piece from there, and put all this into the prompt, and then tell to and also re-rank it based on my like internal also experience, and then generate the answer.
So you essentially had to create like 90% of a search engine first, independent of the API, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You had to
Correct.
prepare and serve everything up on a silver platter to say, here are the answers, ChatGPT. Can you formulate it in a coherent response that answers this question?
Correct.
Wow. I had no idea. So that's, I mean, literally like 80% of your work occurs before you even interact with ChatGPT.
Yes, I think 90%.
90, I believe it. I mean, wow. So really, anyone who thinks, oh, I can whip that out, right? I just need to call ChatGPT. They're not understanding the architecture and how much work went into just getting it to respond coherently. And I'm assuming the ChatGPT web interface itself from OpenAI, they're having to do the same thing.
They did the same thing during the training. So
okay.
So like if you open the classic free ChatGPT UI, it will not search in the internet for the information. Right. It will like produce the information because it was like trained this way. Like a Bing, if you go to Bing, it works a bit different. It works more like a CentralQ, or maybe CentralQ works more like a Bing.
Right.
Yeah, but also differently because the Bing, what Bing does, it doesn't index everything before. So it's also, you have a question, it go to the search for the like top 2-3 links, go to these links, read the grab the context and put everything into the window, and then produce the answer. But I first started with this phase, but I quickly found that I need to index first.
Okay. To get better results, higher quality results.
Yes, the results are much better.
Okay. Well, what we can do is I have CentralQ up, and I'm going to do something very, very basic because just to keep it simple, because I only have simple questions generally. So how do I, oops, I misspelled.
It's not a problem.
How do I, that may be true, right? It may fix my spelling. How do I set up a customer in Business Central? So I'm going to click the button. It's going to scan, and let's just see what happens. Okay. So there you go. And it's got that typing behavior very much like ChatGPT, right?
Yep.
And so open Business Central, navigate to customers page, click on the new action. Like it's very clear out of first glance. I need to like go through and see if it made any mistakes, but it looks pretty good. And interesting. It's worth mentioning you can manage credit limits for customers. And so it's adding in this additional context and information. It's not just saying, click this button and then it ends, right? And then if you have a posted transaction for a customer, you cannot delete the customer. So it's kind of drifting around, but that's ancillary. It's relevant, right?
Yep.
And what I really love about the bottom here, which you did to help debug and to give people something to go on, it is referencing 3 different Microsoft Learn pages, right? So that was great because you can see, okay, where did this pull from? Why is it a little off? And you were able to refine that. Now, a trick you showed on Twitter, which I thought was really interesting, I'm going to copy that same question, but I'm going to paste it in Spanish. And so I haven't tried this. I just saw your Twitter post, right? So I'm going to click search. Now, same question, completely different language, and it responds in Spanish. Right?
Yeah, and it's amazing because it was not planned actually from the beginning.
Yep.
But the thing is here that so the information that we have, it's in English, right?
Yep.
The blogs are in English, tweets are in English, and so on. But if you think about that, if you will Google something on Spanish language and you don't have a content on the Spanish language, it will not find that, right?
Yep.
But this kind of vector databases and embeddings works a little bit different. So how they work? It's called like a similarity search, and they actually take a word like a text, right? And then they convert that into numbers into the vector of numbers. So they represent each text into the numbers. And then when you search for something, it also takes your request, convert it to the numbers, and search for the similar vector inside. And actually converting text to the numbers it means that if you have a text in English and you have the same text in Spanish, it will convert it to the more or less same numbers. And that means that it's not translation from language to language.
Right.
It's just, comparing of numbers. And that makes the magic.
It is. I recently, I forget what I was listening to, a podcast or an audiobook, and they explained this, that these language models are not working in English. They bring in all their content into a language agnostic mathematical or statistical model.
Yes.
And that allows it to output in any language. It's just statistics from its perspective, right? And so here I just did another one in French and it spit out French. Now, I did just try Japanese and it didn't work, interestingly. So there must be something about the translation out to Japanese that it's just not set up to output those character sets.
No, I can tell you why.
Okay.
So behind the scenes here, I use a hybrid search mode. So the hybrid search mode means that I use Bing to search for the Microsoft Docs.
Okay.
And I use vector databases to search for the other information. I just tried different things and I found this hybrid modes output much better results.
Got it.
But when you will search something that is not in the blocks but just in the docs, that will not do this magic. So if you will try to ask something in Japanese that exists in the blocks, I'm sure that it will answer you.
Interesting.
In Japanese.
Okay. I mean, honestly, having more than one language is amazing in itself. So I'll take whatever you got. So that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, that is very cool. Let's see, what else was I going to look at? So let me just show a sample that I did earlier, because I had searched for this previously. And this was the question, what are standard text codes in Business Central? And because I had to set this up. And so I've done this search before using Google. and the results are not great. There are only a few things that reference this, and I couldn't find good results. And what I found was this CentralQ response, because it's finding probably the blogs to help supplement the material,
Yep.
the overall response is much, much better than if I were to just look at Microsoft Learn. Microsoft Learn is you click here, you enter this, and that's standard text codes. Like, that doesn't give me context. It doesn't give me meaning. Like,
Yep.
how does this behave? And what's fascinating here is you can also access it any system by typing question mark followed by the code. And that's actually a deprecated feature. It no longer exists in BC Online. Henrik recommended that. And so there's a time issue here. But what was interesting, I did a second one here. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm showing my wrong screen. So anyway, here is the results of that question. And it really gives a little more context than what I found on Microsoft Learn. And then if I go back to the second question I asked was, what is extended text in Business Central? There was even less information on this topic, but if we go over to my live monitor and I will say, what is extended text? Oops. In Business Central, and it explains what it is, description of items, stock keeping units, etc. It enables user to provide more information. And let's see, is this the same? Oh, interesting. The results are different. What is extended text in Business Central? So if I go to my monitor 3, you see we have a bulleted list here. And then if I go to the live search results, and this is one of the challenges of AI or this LLM, right? You get slightly different results depending on when and how you ask. And so I'm going to search again. And so there we go. Now we're back to the bulleted list. So slightly different, depending on how it did the math. And so this is a 6 bulleted list versus 9 previously. And let's see, VAT clauses, text functionality, flexible way to add additional information. So overall, it's a great resource that's synthesizing all of these different data sources. So I would have to go read Microsoft Learn. I'd have to go look at Viekub's blog. Have to look at Yun Chu's blog, right? And so what is nice about this is that it is pulling together these different resources. And you may get slightly different results here, but actually that's interesting. It's only pulling Yun Chu's blog in this. But anyway, I thought it was really interesting to use, and I hadn't used it in a while since you really started early on. So the results are actually, I think they're quite good at this point. So
yeah, thanks.
Cheers.
I appreciate that. Well, yeah, and there is a lot of experiment behind this, I can tell you, in every level, and still
Yep.
like experiment. And I think so. My plan, actually, the next plan is to add YouTube knowledge there.
Right. YouTube captions and scanning that content.
Yes, of the YouTube. And also, we also agreed with the J.
Okay.
That no, not with the J. So we agreed. I forgot.
It's okay. It's okay.
So much in my mind.
If it comes back to you. Go ahead.
So so the idea is also to grab some kind of paid books, and I will take one first. Jeremy, yeah.
Jeremy.
Sorry,
okay, Jeremy
Jeremy
Visca's like 20 hours with Business
Yes,
Central. I forget the name. Yep.
yes,
Your
yes,
first 20
yes.
hours.
Yeah, the first 20 hours. So actually, I agree with him that I took this book and will index and also will use it in the responses.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, so there will be some progress there.
Okay. And so
And yeah,
you gave us kind of the story of how you built it, that it's still in progress, some tweaking, and it's just constantly iterating to improve.
yeah.
And what, based on this experience, has your impression of LLMs and large language models and how they work, has it changed? Are they as magical and useful as you thought when you first used ChatGPT? Or now that you realize that 90+% of your work is on the back end before you even get to the API, has it kind of taken the enchanting nature of LLMs away?
Uh, I can tell you that my feeling of the magic behind the scenes is now not so like magic.
Yep.
I demystified the magic for
Yep.
myself.
That's a good word from 2019, demystified. Yep.
Demystified magic, yes. But still, well, it's very impressive, you know. Uh, the current state of the large language models, they will not kill the humanity, definitely.
Yep.
Uh, and but it's, you know, it's a tool that we can use nowadays. That's the first the thing that if you can just take some time, it could be more time, less time, just to experiment, and you dive into that for yourself, you will find that, oh, okay, I'm going to solve this task, and I have a choice now. I can solve it in a more classical way,
Hmm.
or I can use a prompt engineering stuff and solve it with a AI thing. Yeah, and during my directions Asia and the BC Tech Days sessions, I showed how you can schedule job queues in Business Central just with a natural language.
Wow.
Something like, okay, I want to run the consolidation every Friday after the working hours, and then once again at the end of the week, and then once again at the end of the month, you know.
Hmm.
So it's like typing this thing, and at the final result for the user, it will be job queues created in the Business Central with
Oh.
a correct scheduling, and
Wow.
it actually learned the date formulas and how they, you know, all the things, how
Right.
the job queues works and how they should be scheduled. I put all this information to the prompt, and you know, it reproduced me the JSON file that then I uh, managed to turn into the job queues.
Got it.
You can watch the recording in the Mibuso YouTube
Okay.
channel
For BC Tech
um,
Days recordings, right?
for the BC Tech Days
Yep.
recording. Yes.
Very cool. Well, and that was one of my questions here. We got your impressions from building CentralQ of current LLMs, and where can LLMs provide value in the future in Business Central? And I think that's a great example, automating those maybe tedious tasks. They're not necessarily hard, but maybe a user make mistakes. Maybe there's 25 options and they
Yeah.
don't know which one to set. So
Yeah. Sure.
it's that simplification, not earth shattering stuff, but if a user doesn't have to jump into job queues and flip all those switches, I think that's an improvement.
Sure. And it's many areas in the Business Central can be automated in this way. Um, in a recent blog, I also wrote how you can um, describe the financial reports in the Business Central. So you
Right.
in the Business Central you have like financial reporting, and for non-accountant they are very complicated to read, like all these PL stuff and so on. And you can just create an action in the Business Central, like explain this to me, and it will explain you in a simple words, taking your numbers and providing you additional feedback on that. And I think that these kind of things in a Business Central especially would make much sense, because like in the Business Central we have like data, and like chatting with the data, it's the next big thing that we like. It should be there, I can tell you.
Okay, got it. And
It's
I just pulled up your blog post of
yeah.
the Explain the Financial Reports, and it's pretty extensive. This a technical person would appreciate this.
Mhm.
Definitely not for the faint of heart. Your typical application consultants would not yet be able to automate this necessarily. Maybe we could get there with some Power Automate, but it looks like AL is
Yeah,
involved. So, but very interesting. And this is just the first generation, right? Initial ideas of what we're trying to do. And
yeah,
I personally, one of the challenges I have is thinking of these ideas. It's not necessarily the technical components. Like, well, what would be of value in Business Central that an LLM or a Chat GPT or something else could provide value? And that's the $1 million question oftentimes.
yeah, that's true. But I think that it's maybe difficult to answer on this question. You know, where we can implement AI in Business Central, and you think, okay, maybe there, but
Yep.
but I think the point here is when you use the Business Central, like in everyday work, and you like you use the Business Central, maybe you can just ask yourself questions. Okay, I'm in a journal now,
Yep.
and what I'm doing in the journal. Okay, I'm filling the lines like every day, the same lines, and I copy this journal, copy this, and maybe I can just ask the large language model. Okay, I want uh, to distribute costs from here to here.
Right.
Okay, so and then it will just create a lines for you. Uh, and and many places in Business Central we can ask such questions. Um,
Interesting.
I think that's where we can start, and then uh, like I can tell you I am not very good uh, in producing this kind of where this can be valuable, where we
Yes.
can implement this. Uh, but that's where Twitter helps, because like I saw in one tweet, okay, Jeremy told that, that's the place where AI maybe can help. I don't know how, but maybe
Right.
Dmitry know how to do that. Okay. Oh yeah, I know how to do that.
Yep. The the Twitter
So
hive mind is awesome. I love it.
yeah,
Very cool. Well, I mean, when I think of AI and Business Central, obviously I think of you since 2019 when I saw your presentation. So this is awesome stuff. And thank you very much for joining me. And let's see. Let me see if I can. You can find Dmitry on Twitter at Dmitry Katson, and his blog is katson.com. And of course, the CentralQ is available at centralq.ai. So thank you very much for joining me on Tuesday morning in Thailand.
yeah, correct.
Excellent.
Thank you
Well,
very much, Steve, for having me. always fun to talk about that.
Very cool. Okay, well, if you hang on a minute, I'm gonna wrap up and then I will
Yep.
sign off. Okay, one moment. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay,
Yeah.
let me find the
Thank you,
button
everyone.
here. Okay.